Listen, I don't know how many uses we got for crack.
The Who Do You Think You Are podcast is filmed on location and sponsored by Good Trip Gallery. It's a beautiful space with eye-catching art hanging all over. As you can see, he's doing an in-home mural for what became a very happy client. Stop by the gallery sometime and tell him that SP the Writer sent you.
Owner of Good Trip Tattoo and Art. My passion is creating art, and there's no better feeling than seeing a happy client.
We're here for another podcast episode. It's actually another one. It's actually the first episode.
Okay, so I'm gonna be the first? I'm gonna open it up? Okay, perfect.
You're gonna be the very first person on Who Do You Think You Are?
Okay, got it.
That's not your cue though.
Got it.
Right. Very first podcast episode, and there's no one else in the world that I would have on for the first episode other than my partner in crime, my Shaq, to my Kobe. Yes, because we decided I was Kobe and you're Shaq.
I'm sure we've talked about it on the World Wide Web that you're definitely the Shaq in this relationship.
No, you're Shaq because...
There's nothing wrong with Shaq. I don't know why he does this to himself. I don't know.
Shaq is the most dominant force we've ever seen.
Don't be trying to, you see how he's trying to mansplain? Ladies, don't let them do this to you. He's mansplaining the dynamic between Kobe and Shaq.
But Kobe, so I'm Kobe because I toil.
Okay.
I toil over every detail of every single thing. I'm in the lab, I'm studying.
Okay.
Shaq just, I'm gonna go on vacation, I'm gonna eat whatever. But you can't stop me, I'm gonna dunk on you 18 times.
Okay, fine. Because that's exactly my life.
So that's settled?
It's settled. It's, okay, fine. You know what? You're right. I am the Shaq in this relationship. No, I'm the Shaq.
Good.
All right, it's done.
I guess we've kind of already started.
Indeed.
We've already started. I'm just the SP. I'm just a poet.
You're just a silent one that is.
And so everyone, including myself today, wants to know, who do you think you are?
Well, yo, it's your girl, KrystalDamuse. I'm coming to you in full effect. I know he's asking, did you miss me? Of course you have. That's exactly who I am. Like literally, energy, wording, it's very appropriate
you can
to.
Look at me too. We don't care about the camera.
Okay. Because I'm trying to be like.
No, we don't care about the camera.
It's about us. Okay, so that is exactly who I think I am. Like all of those things. I know that's who I am now, So and I'm becoming more of that.
And so it's crazy because obviously I know a lot about you.
Yes.
But you are and have been morphing.
Yes.
Into this entirely, well, I wouldn't say entirely, but from a mental standpoint.
Yes.
An entirely different person that people are not used to or they have not seen.
Yeah.
And also myself, like, being with you over the last, three years now.
Dang, yeah.
Time is flying.
2018.
2018, March 2018.
March.
Yeah. I've been able to watch you grow, from being on stage and from your network and things of that nature, but now you're having this internal enlightenment,
yes,
if you will, that I think people would be very interested, including myself.
He's like, me too. Who are you? Who do you think you are?
Right.
So it's so interesting because a lot of who...
Don't cover your mic.
Oh, was that? A lot of who I am and becoming is now attributed to just acknowledgement of self or understanding of who I am, right? Who I've been, including all the ugly stuff, the trauma and you know, disappointments, all that. So for me, in this time, it's not about, because I've always been, what's really crazy, I've always been a very transparent person, but you really gotta ask me. Like, I'm not just walking around like, you don't know my story, you know what I'm saying? But legitimately, you would have to ask me to know certain things, because most people would think that, you know, I'm happy all the time, but for many years, I was very depressed and very lonely and felt alone and all of the stuff. And so most of that was rooted in the fact that I had like this identity issue, these identity issues that I had not pinpointed or worked out. And so now, being 35 and, you know, really wanting change for myself, really wanting and desiring elevation for myself, and realizing that I'm worthy of that. And I was groomed and bred to be this ruler of all things, you know? And so not knowing that, having the lack of understanding of really why I was created and made, and my lineage, if you would, yeah, I wasn't able to be my fullest self. I used to cower in rooms, like as bright and vibrant as I would be, that was only like a little bit. There's levels to this ish, you know what I mean? And so at that time, I really couldn't be the fullness of myself, and it was really because I did not know who I was, or it was a lot to work out.
So in that, where, you know, moving back a little bit, where you had those issues internally, how did it feel? I think this is a good question for you. How did it feel to feel that way internally, but then have other people look at you as if you're the brightest star in the world?
So, so it should have been affirming, right? Like, when I heard those things, it should have been like, okay, maybe I am, but remember, you can't accept things that you don't already know and understand for yourself to a certain degree, right?
Right. Listening, you know, Google's always listening.
The phones, it's the phones. Turn them on airplane mode when you don't need them.
It is, but Google is like, yo, right now we can't help you.
We can't connect. We can't connect. So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So what is it? We were talking about.
Normally that would affirm you.
Normally, like for most people, that should affirm them, right? Like solidify who you are. But I didn't believe it for myself. There's a certain understanding you have to have and worth that you have to have for yourself in order to be able to receive anything great or good or affirming or enlightening from other sources. And I just didn't have that at that time. So it's night and day, really, to understand that, like, to know who I was then and all the opportunities that was missed and all the misunderstandings and all of the ugliness that I had to experience because I could not take that for realness and truth. So the difference is that I now, it's now affirming to me, because when I hear things, there is an understanding that I have about what I possess and who I am to be able to receive that, and it gives me fuel instead of, because if you know, if you're an empath, you're always giving, whether people want it or not. Jesus. Cheese and crackers, whether people want it or not, you're giving it up. Right. And so all day I am being taxed. All day, because this is just who I am. I'm a servant, I'm a giver, and you really don't have sources, on top of the fact that I'm a Pisces too, so you really don't have sources.
Nothing about the signs other than
I'm a Taurus, I'm a Pisces, it doesn't mean anything. So you don't really know when you're gonna get your next fix, right? And for me, it's just about energy and love. Like, my fuel has always been love. And a lot of times I would have to go, because I wasn't living a certain kind of way, I felt like I couldn't go to my family. So I always had to go away to myself in my corner or in my bathroom. You know, when I took a shower, that's usually you know, when I had time to recharge. Because even in my sleep, I would toil, if you will, with, you know, not being a certain kind of way because society and church and religion and all this stuff, right? So in the bathroom is really when I had those moments to recharge and to just let loose, you know, cry if I need to cry, and or, you know, be another person, encouraging myself to be okay and make it to the next moment.
Gotcha. So all of this is new and recent.
Yes.
And so obviously myself and everyone else who follows you now sees your tagline, "You're dope."
Yes.
And so
you're dope. And that is all.
And that is all.
And that is all.
And so in you kind of, I don't want to say creating that tagline, but in you kind of putting that out in the atmosphere, was that you talking to yourself?
Yes. It's always, okay, so let me tell y'all something. I'm going to tell y'all something so crazy, right? So God really has given me certain gifts of like foreseeing things and, you know, understanding discernment and all that stuff, right? And there would be these random moments where God would just lay on a whole bunch of information about a person that I would come in contact. And usually it's somebody that I'm not so close to, so he can be affirmed that like, yeah, that ain't you, but this is a gift that I'm giving to you. And so I would deliver these messages to people. And most of the time, it's so crazy now that I really see it, most of the time it was of affirmation, of them being enough, of them being worthy and enough and blah, 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 deserving. And lo and behold, if you didn't already catch it, that was me talking to me. That was him speaking through me because I am hard-headed. Him speaking through me to other people. Right. And I didn't know that until I got out of, like, until the epiphanies came, real enlightenment and revelation came to me way after the fact, years sometimes after the fact, really understanding that all of that affirmation and was really for me. Right. And so, yes, in this season, everything that I'm talking about, like my Thought for Thursdays that I do, they're really for me. Right. They're really for me. And I legitimately be in the shower talking to God like that, because it's like a moment. I don't know why, but that's my moment where I guess being naked and my most vulnerable self outside of sex, that's a moment that I really can communicate with God because, again, all of the voices are gone. And I don't know, it's difficult to explain, but, you know, I know every single person carry around voices, and I thought that was a thing too, but it's not as unique as I thought it was. Right. It's all of us, we all got the voices, right? But when I'm in the shower, for some reason, the voices are not so loud. They don't dominate equally, you know? And so I'm able to kind of have one voice in that moment, right, where I'm just talking with God, and that's the moment that he's able to really just pour into me and recharge me. And so my Thought for Thursdays usually come from those moments when I'm there
so it could have been
by myself.
Shower Saturday.
Clean up Saturdays, because that's a real thing. You know, back in the day.
Oh yeah, you put the music on.
Listen, and Saturdays is when you got up. My parents, my mother, Saturdays is when we used to get up early and clean up. Right. Because we was going outside. You're not staying inside this house. You ain't staying in my house all daggone day.
That's it.
And even when it was raining, listen, we walked, you know, we walked to school in blizzards, honey, in Brooklyn. It's not a game. They play no games about the weather. Weather is nothing. So
a lot of people know, some people don't, but you were raised part of your life in Brooklyn.
Yes. So my flavor, like that je ne sais quoi that everybody talks about. Vocabulary, word of the day. Je ne sais quoi. Yes, sir. Use it in a sentence. And tag us. But that thing that most people see in me is that flavor I get from my early childhood, my early adolescence, and Brooklyn, New York. You know, a lot of my family is from like the islands and from Brooklyn, and you know, we are just a melting pot of culture, my family. And so I got a lot of this ooey gooey, you know, eccentric thing from that time in my life.
Gotcha. And so how long were you in Brooklyn until what age?
Okay, so I was 10. I lived there until I was 10, then we came to North Carolina. My sister, older than me, right above me, was 12. Well, you know, we're just over 18 months apart, but,
Gotcha.
So yeah. Yep, and then my baby sister was only 1.
And so then you moved to North Carolina to where?
Jacksonville, North Carolina. Listen, when they told us we was going to Jacksonville, we thought we was going to Florida.
Oh, no.
No, oh no, it's right. Oh no. Yes, very
that's the only Jacksonville that anybody outside of Jacksonville knows is Jacksonville, Florida.
And I'm telling you, when I say disappointed, we were disappointed.
So I didn't know this. You were disappointed that you were coming to Jacksonville?
Yes. Let me tell you why. Because, okay, we used to come to Jacksonville in the summers.
Okay.
And that was fun. That was cute. You know, it was like the country. Okay, we about to go to the pool. We gonna be to the beach.
They was prepping y'all, but you didn't even know.
Yeah, they didn't even know, for real. I don't think they really knew. I think they kind of just decided, really, on the women. I never even asked that question. I'm a grown woman now, and I still don't know, like, what made them say this is the time and place and blah, blah, blah. But they did that, and we were disappointed. My sister, she was rebellious. My sister above me, right above me, she was like, she rejected it for many years. And we still lived there. We didn't move. It wasn't like her rebelliousness was helpful. It wasn't helpful at all. Yeah, you're a child. We're staying. But we were very disappointed. We thought we were going to the beach, and that wasn't a thing. And we were there. And I'm a free-flowing person. So I was like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Right. Which is crazy.
This is what we're doing.
And a lot of people know because they, you know, heard us talk, but I lived in Maysville. You were in Jacksonville.
Right up the block.
I lived in Maysville. We moved from Pollocksville, which is right next to Maysville, to Maysville after like midway my 5th grade year.
Okay.
So how old are you in 5th grade? 12?
I don't know, 5th grade, I think you're younger. You're like 10, right? 5th grade?
So you moved to Jacksonville probably right
Right,
around
I was,
I moved to Maysville.
Okay,
so
got you.
We literally were 15 minutes apart for years.
Years.
All the way through, you know, until I graduated.
But you're much, 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 much older than me.
But I'm not. But I'm not. So when you were 10, I was 13. You're 30 what? 30. You said it earlier. So all you gotta do is rewind. 30.
35. I'm 35.
Right,
I'm 35
so
now.
38, so yeah.
Yeah.
So I was 13.
So yeah, you were like middle school, and I was still in elementary. I was like 4th grade. I was 4th grade. When we came to North Carolina, I was in the 4th grade, if I'm not mistaken. So that was my 4th grade year. So I don't know math very well, you know what I'm saying? But I do know it well enough to know what's 1 + 1. And that's all that matters.
Is that 2 or 11?
Depends on how you put it together.
All right, so you moved to Jacksonville. You're kind of free-flowing about it. Your older sister's like, I'm not studying this at all.
At all.
How many sisters do you have?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? So technically, I have 4 sisters, right? Most of them are older. I have 3 older sisters and 1 younger sister. So I have my sister that's just above me, Zenobia. The sister above her, Marlene. Right. And then my oldest sister, our oldest sister, which is Danielle. So she is the oldest of us. And then my baby sister, Imani, is right under me. But she's 8 years after me.
Marlene, I have not met, right?
No, you haven't met Marlene.
Right.
And what's crazy, so Marlene she's not my blood sister. And it's really crazy. If you line us up, if you really do line us up, we look like a rainbow of like morphing my mother's face. Like really, it's kind of crazy to me. But we have a lot of siblings that aren't blood that we really, truly grew up with. So Sam and Marlene are my oldest sister's siblings.
Okay.
They all have the same dad. And so, but we grew up with them, like without strife, without drama, like crazily, we were like a true blended family, and they weren't any blood to me and my siblings who had the same mom and dad.
You had brothers?
Yes, so believe it or not, I have 4 brothers, right? And honestly, y'all, my dad was, you know what I'm saying? Period. But we gonna move on from that. So, we had a lot of, half sisters and brothers and stuff like that, and I think we got a couple we don't know, but that's not even what we're talking about today. But I got 4 siblings, 4 brothers. All of them are older than me, right? So I have DeWitt, who is our oldest brother. Then we have Matthew. These are all from my dad's side. Okay. And then Sam, who is, again, Marlene's and my oldest sister's brother. They're all blood with the same dad. And then my blood brother, same mom, Louis, C-Just, he goes by. And so, yes.
I'm gonna fix this right here.
I keep touching it too.
Yeah. Don't touch it. There we go.
Yes.
Now
I do everything with my hands. I'm gonna do better.
Now you should be good.
But yeah, so I have a lot of.
So who moved from Brooklyn?
Okay, so my brother. So no one. Okay, so as of right now, none of my siblings are in Brooklyn. Maybe Matthew, and it's been so many years since I've spoken with Matthew, and we always are like, we wish we can be in touch with Matthew. We talk about him all the time, but we are in touch with DeWitt, our oldest brother, but we think everybody is out of Brooklyn except for him. I think he's the only one that may be still in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And my brother, C-Just, Louis, he's in North Carolina now.
Okay, but so when your family moved from Brooklyn to Jacksonville, who did that entail? Who was?
Okay, so the core. All right, so believe it or not, it was.
And this is our first episode, y'all. We're gonna get the audio stuff together.
By the second episode, there's not gonna be any issues.
No issues.
None whatsoever. So you just grab some of this shirt. Go ahead.
And that's a bar. You gotta do things.
We're gonna elevate.
You gotta adjust.
That's all right.
You're good to go.
Yes. Let me be the guinea pig.
So who was in the caravan?
Okay.
That came from Brooklyn to.
So when we first moved to North Carolina, it was just me, my little sister Imani, and my sister Zenobia. Okay, so it was just us at that time.
Were y'all close?
So no, my sister Zenobia and I, we weren't. We had such a misunderstanding of what our perspective was on each other, and we have very different ways of handling things and our thought process and our trauma and drama and all that stuff. So we were not close. Sorry, short version, no.
But y'all are closer now.
Yes. So I think we always had, finding out, we both always had, a certain desire to be close with each other and just couldn't figure out a way to get to one another. I was always the type of person that didn't feel worthy, and my sister did not have that issue. My sister did not have that issue, honey, okay?
I'm the issue.
Period. And it wasn't even, in a pretentious or stuck-up way, but it was perceived that way, But she just knew that she was worthy. There was this thing that she always, this assurance that she had about herself that I envied and I always wanted to be around. So listen, y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all something. She's gonna kill me when I tell y'all the story. My sister did not want me around a lot. I was annoying, okay? I was a very obnoxious little kid, all right? I didn't, as much energy as I have right now, I know how to control it, right? But back then, I didn't. So I was obnoxious, you know what I'm saying? All the time, okay? But I loved my sister, and I thought that she was so pretty. Now, back in the day also, dark skin was not in, right. Okay? Let's be very clear. Black. And I was, exactly, that's exactly what they called me, Blackie. And I hated it, but that's a whole nother traumatic story I can tell y'all later. But you know, so I had just all of these worth and self-esteem issues just from culture and society telling me that dark, you know, all the stuff. Right. So I always wanted to be around my sister because she was like, to me, she was like cool and pretty and, you know, something, right. You know, and she was light-skinned. Period. And so I would always want to be around her. And she was like, nah. She just hated me going where she was going. I used to, okay, so I was a walking freaking musical, and I am right now. But I was really, like, I'm really that way, right? And I'm just like a twirly, whirly person. And I was so much like that back then, but in such a obnoxious way. Like the kids, like the freaking kids that won't sit down. I was one of those kids, like, oh, here she comes. I was that person. It was terrible to say, but I was that. The only way my sister, y'all all have a person right now that you could think of right now. It's like, she's coming, or he's coming. Right. We all got that person.
I remember a girl in college, we used to see her coming across, knew she was coming to the room where we all were chilling. We would turn the lights off, TVs off, she knocking. Keep on knocking, but you can't come in.
You can't. We're not here, but we're here.
So you're the obnoxious kid.
Yes, I want to be around her so bad. I want to be her so bad. And so the only way she would be around me is if we played Cinderella, and I would be able to do whatever she told me to do, and she wouldn't even be really playing. Right. She just would be like, okay, sweep the floor.
And then you sweep the floor, and you're absolutely ecstatic that your sister is telling you to sweep the floor. But...
Yes, and she was the evil stepmother. Wow. And I was Cinderella, and I was singing in my own little corner, in my own little chair. Wow. I used to be around my sister, literally. Terrible. And back then, it was the original white Cinderella, and I just wanted to pay respect to, you know, the more cultured version of it. But I was singing different songs back then. Cinderella, Cinderella, night and day, Cinderella. That's the version of the songs that I was singing. But anyway.
Nothing of which I was doing. Well, you know what? So do you remember Fruit Loops? They used to have a record in the box.
Yes. Oh my God.
So now I would, my older cousin, he used to tell me whatever to do, and I would do it. But he liked to be around me. We would, you know, catch flies and pick their wings off.
Because he's mean.
But
so mean. Respect all living things.
But he would put that on, and we would march around.
Except for cockroaches, kill them.
But that's about all the singing and dancing stuff.
I was singing and dancing. Everything I did was singing and dancing, and my sister just hated all of it. I was so annoying, and so that was the only time that we really purposely spent together. But that was really obviously not spending time together. But she just, I was a lot. I was a lot. I'm still very much a lot, but way more controlled and less annoying. Right. And but that was our relationship, and I always wanted more, but I didn't know how to be what I thought she wanted me to be, and I never felt worthy of that love and relationship with my sister, especially if I wasn't doing certain things or living a certain life, or if I couldn't be proud to walk, you know, because I always had money. I was a hustler, honey. I had money. And, you know, that's how I showed love to that was how I showed, or that's how I felt proud, is when, you know, I could send her money, you know, because she was in college and stuff like that. Like, those were the moments that I felt most proud about, when I had money to be able to, like, hey, sissy, you know, make sure you could get some food and blah, 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 and all that stuff. Like, those, that was me getting older and evolving my, my way of being able to express the sisterhood that I really wanted from her, that I wasn't really getting in relationship with her.
Gotcha. So, Jacksonville, then to Raleigh.
Yes. So, you know, you do your little blah, 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 all over the place, because I lived in Maryland for a little bit. Okay. A little bit with my sister. I was on drugs really heavily. And it was a very crazy time for me, and a moment that I really needed to step away from accessibility and people and stuff. So I lived in Maryland in 2008 for a few months, for about like 6 months with my sister.
So did you self-rehab or?
Yeah, that's what it was. Like really, God, it's so crazy because the stories are crazy. But, you know, God really has always favored me, man. Right. Like spared me from these moments of destruction. And I think, you know, I don't know if you heard that saying, you know, God watches out for babies and fools. But I was so foolish because there were such beautiful things and gifts that he gave me and just all of this stuff that I just could not see. I just couldn't see it because I couldn't see myself, right? And I just couldn't fathom why. Like, why do you keep saving me? Why do you keep affording me opportunity to get it together? And I remember at that time before I transitioned to Maryland, you know, God allowed me to see the more spiritual warfare side of things that happened, you know, and he allowed me access crazily, and you don't want access. But he allowed me access to see like the demons that were chasing me and the spirits that were starting to like surround me to the point where coverage was no longer possible. I was getting so far away.
You were out from under the net.
Right, you know what I'm saying? That shadow, by the shadow of his almighty wing. There was no more shadow. I was at the end and the edge of the shadow. And so I was getting so far away that he's like, yo, this is where I stop. Right. What are you going to do? And he let me see these things, man. I wouldn't be able, like, it was so deep, y'all. For real, I couldn't go in dark places. Cause I didn't know like where it was safe to walk. Like it would be crazy. Like in my own house, I could not be there. I would have to turn on the lights. When I came up from my door, I had my light switch was right by my door. And I would have to turn on my lights to be able to see what was going on in my house. I couldn't go in the rooms. All the rooms I would have to turn like
Home Alone.
Like yeah, like but in real life, man. Not lost in New York. So it was a real time in my life where God was like, yo, I'm about, I'm not where you at. I'm not where you at. Right. I'm not where you at. And the one thing I always, I guess, pride myself on in moments of darkness was that I knew God. Right. Like I know God. And so I can always, as long as I'm living and breathing, I can tap into that. And to a certain degree that is true, right? But for me in that time,
it was almost tapped out.
You don't step, I'm not, so what we think is because we're not moving, we're not moving. But that's not true. Even in your, complacency, you're still getting away from certain things. Like no matter what, there's no such thing as standing still. I promise you. There's no such thing as indifference. I promise you. You're just getting further away from the truth and the reality and the feelings and all this stuff.
Being on one of the conveyor belts at the airport, you can stand still.
Right, but things are still moving. You know what I'm saying? So, in that space, because I wasn't choosing certain things, I thought that I was just standing still, and that wasn't the case scenario. I was still drifting and getting further away from this protective shield and space that I had. Like over there, you're not protected, honey. And I didn't know that there was a space that I particularly could go in which God couldn't get to me. What?
And this just popped in my head. So because you're so into musicals and animated films, when you saw Lion King and he told Simba like, don't go there. Did that resonate with you? And I know that's a weird off-the-wall question.
So I'm so into animated movies. So appropriate question for me. So Lion King.
I'm gonna be pretty good at this.
You're effing spectacular. So Lion King has always been a movie that resonated with me on so many different levels. The movie was phenomenal. It is still a classic for me. We still heavily play the original Lion King in my house. So yes, I mean, if I'm using that as a point of reference, that's exactly what it is. We choose to go outside of our safety nets. Now, his dad still came to get him.
Right.
There was still a bird, a ram in the bush, y'all. And the parrot went all the way to get it. Listen, there was still a ram in the bush. You know what I'm saying? I had a praying grandmother. I don't know if y'all know that song, but it's good and very appropriate. So in every scenario, I feel like God was that. But in this particular time in my life, in 2008, in this particular space, I was at a space where my next decision was based off of life or death, really, in a more literal sense. Right. And so I had to choose, like, all right, I'm about to go. I literally did not pack up my house. I packed up nothing. My clothes, my kids and my clothes. We got in my car at that time, which was a little Chevy Aveo.
Oh, wow.
A little baby Chevy
little
hatchback.
Is right.
Little baby Chevy Aveo at 10 o'clock at night. And I drove to Carroll County, Maryland, to be with my sister. No, as a back, I think at the time she was living in Randallstown.
Okay, I know where Randallstown.
She was living in Randallstown, and we had a little townhouse over there. And I went there, and I got safety. and God really spared my life, my children. There were so many things going on at that time, and I was truly spared.
Got you. So, all right, so you get to Maryland, you're there for kind of about 6 months. Mm-hmm. You're kind of self-rehabbing, drugs are done at that point.
Yes, I was no longer on drugs. You know, the hard now, we talk about the harder drugs, you know what I'm saying? Not, you know, because marijuana is something different.
Right, to you.
to you! To the world, okay? Just understand it's very medicinal. Listen, I don't know how many uses we got for crack. or alcohol. Because back in the day, you used it for medicinal purposes as well. You know what I mean? To be able to cleanse things and clean things. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you used it. Now, you know, what's the use for that? But weed. Reefer, marijuana. I mean, I can name up so many wonderful qualities it has, if used in the right way. You know what I'm saying?
So, all the drugs,
well,
except weed.
Except for the one gateway drug that
they can get you back to everything. They get you from up under the net, out there where Simba ass went. Okay.
Nala was there too. Don't talk about her too. Nala was there too.
True, she was. I mean,
she was a little scary though. Come on, Simba, like, come on, we gonna do this?
Right.
She didn't want to be there for real. She was like, but I'm gonna ride or die.
She won't queen. She was slim and almost got you. She was slim in that situation because Slim was like, yo, I want to see my family.
Man, I'm trying to go home. We're not going home. They're home. We're dead. It's over. No matter what, we are either dying or going to jail for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, Queen was like, yeah, I'm out.
Listen, it's not going to work. It's not going to help.
Get rid of your cell phone.
We're on the run.
Now.
We are officially on the run.
It's a great movie, too. All right, so you leave Maryland.
I was kind of disappointed that I wanted it to be.
No,
I did. I want to say that. Let me tell you. Hold on. Let me just say this. Let me say this. Wait, I don't think we talked about this, but I want to say this real fast, right? I respect what they did, okay? No disrespect. I respect what they did because, unfortunately, that is a more realistic.
It is. And that's
it is a very realistic end, right?
They don't care. I care. Look at me.
I'm so used to talking to the camera. That is a very realistic end, right? But I don't think people go to the movies for real. In most case scenarios, especially when this is the topic.
Right.
We don't go there to see what happens all the time. I just want us to consider that for a moment, right? I respect what they did. I respect it. But consider this for a moment. You have the power to show an international audience what can happen, when we work together. Why? Why would you show this thing right now when we need a win? Why not show us working together the whole way through? Why not? Why not? And again, I respect what they did.
But you said it though. It was realistic, and I feel like they were trying to make a real.
But I want to ask you a question. The reason why the Underground Railroad worked, and I know this is so like to the left, right? But think about it. It's because it worked all the way through. It worked. It actually happens. It actually happens. But it's never the majority of what we see. That's why we don't see us as kings and queens, right? Even though we were the original man on this earth, which were kings and queens. We mostly see ourselves in chains. We mostly see ourselves captured. We mostly are depicted as our one life being more important than everybody's life.
Right.
But how much in this moment is it important for you to stand? This one person needed to make a different decision.
So Queen and Slim, alternate ending, because you know some movies
yes.
have an alternate ending. In the alternate
they should give us that.
Queen and Slim, how does the alternate ending take place? So
and to some degree they live. I want to see them. I want to see just a little, you know how they do, and the plane comes and they get on the plane. I would have rather him still be the snitch, him get killed. This is me. Did the snitch get killed?
Okay.
Yes. He told, you took the money, great. Now, they take you to jail or you get killed. One of the two, you don't prosper.
Right.
Because again, you went against the grain. Because I feel like you should be punished for what you did.
Right.
You should be punished. And that's how I feel. And maybe not death, because I want you to learn. I want you to learn. So maybe it's not death, but they gave you the money and then they found drugs in your house because it looked like he was a dope boy anyway. So take him to jail, period. Whatever. But something happened to you in a negative way, right? And they get away. They get away. And then we see a flash forward of them being given immunity or exonerated or something like that because they saw the footage of what happened and boom. They do an investigation. Years later, they can come back.
And see, I'm sitting in the theater.
I love it.
The entire time I'm watching this movie. I'm sitting in the theater the whole time and I'm like, they can't live. I'm like, if they get away, because you use the word realistic, it's not realistic to me. Now what I feel like they did in the movie to give that extra part of what you're talking about,
that freedom,
they immortalized them
right
at the end of the film, which is what happened. Trayvon Martin, all the people.
But they also countered that with all of the media stuff. about all of the negative stuff because realistic. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. I just want us to think about this for a second, right? And I do get that, you know, we want to make sure that we're staying in that more, what would happen, what's a more realistic outcome, right? But why? When you go to the movies, you want to see motherfuckers flying. And for real, like this is the reason why, this is what I paid for, to get the hell away from reality, to get away from what is more likely to happen. Why isn't it more likely that they survive, that so many people work together, that humanity stood firm in this moment, and that even the black person that needed that $100,000 wasn't really willing to take the money? Because that is realistic. Right. It's realistic. It happens all the time. It's just not what we put on the big screen. Right. Because we were, it's more stark. Yeah. It's more stark to see us get our fucking heads blown off. Right. But it's not what we don't see.
True. And I mean, I feel like there's,
I'm hollering.
Right, the microphone's right there. It's fine. We're gonna turn yours down. You're
I'm hollering.
You're still outside from yesterday, but it's fine. I think everybody has their lane of how they want to storytell. And when the opportunity comes for someone to tell a story, they tell the story that is most native to them. So, for instance, you'll have a Tyler Perry, and he has these movies and TV shows that predominantly speak to, you know, an older generation of women. Then you have a Spike Lee who sees counter to that and is like, I don't know why he does that, And it's not that Tyler's wrong, it's not that Spike's wrong in how or what they shoot. It's just that it's native to them. And so I've watched a ton of, you know, I do the behind the scenes stuff and I can't pronounce the lady's name that directed and the other lady that wrote Queen and Slim. But I've watched a lot of behind the scenes of them, and they talked about like that being what is there in the forefront of their mind. And then even as women, you know, how they portrayed Queen, and she was very hard shell, you know, like, and then trying to break down those stereotypes in a sense where it then showed her soft vulnerability, and allowed, you know, Slim to lead in an instance, because at first he wasn't leading or trying to lead at all. He
wanted to get the hell away from her. Listen, you about it, and I'm not. I'm not about this life. I just need you to go.
So who are you? In that film, who are you? Are you Queen or are you Slim? And I mean, obviously, you know, take gender out of it, but
honestly, I'm Slim.
And I'm Queen.
I know that. We know that.
Cause I'm first thing, I'm like, yo, we out of here. Like, let's go.
So I'm too much of a humanity person, right? I'm too much of that. She would have had to kill me, because I would have been like, I am not running.
So
I am not running.
So you're Slim, but you're saying you wouldn't have ran?
No.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't have ran. Honestly, the whole situation would have been different, period. But okay, so I'm gonna say something, y'all ain't gonna like it. I'm gonna say it. Our fear is what ignites it all. Let me explain. It is our expectation of this person coming to my door to be a dickhead, first of all. Like, we already know what it is as it's happening, right? And it's all of the negative things.
Right.
So to a certain degree, we kind of almost manifest in a way the negative thing.
Right.
Our expectation is the negative thing.
Right.
Our readiness is for the negative thing. And so because of that, it creates more of an energy. And people don't realize how much your internal energy dictates and resonates with other people and how that's received and given back to you.
Right.
So to a certain degree, I feel like we go into these situations and as they're happening, we're already like, let me turn my video camera on. Let me prepare, you know what I'm saying? We're already preparing for the worst case scenario. I don't believe in that at all. I believe that in some cases, and again, I'm not diminishing anybody's, death or experience, that the dickheads are out here, right? But our expectation of them being dickheads is what helps them be dickheads.
Right.
It encourages them to try to assert power over something and someone in that moment.
And that's what Queen kind of lended to.
Right. Why? Listen, I feel like she, in some ways, kind of antagonized the situation. And granted, him being the authority should have been able to just been like, listen, I'm not even here for that. You guys, blah, 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 and la, 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 la. But because we feel like, in her situation, she felt like she needed to be firm in a space that wasn't really necessary. Like, that wasn't even really necessary. The why you feel that way. You are the stereotypical angry black woman in this situation.
Right.
And you are perpetuating that so much so, you have now created something to talk about.
Right. But, okay, 100%, right?
Tee-hee. Y'all ain't gonna like it.
But all that happened.
Okay.
Right? And then the scuffle happens, he shoots a cop, the cop is dead. If me and you are on our way to City Soul, God forbid, knock on wood or something, pulled over, stuff happens, I killed a cop. You not running?
Not with you, but I'm gonna tell you to run. As a black man, I would tell you to run. I would tell you not. I would tell you to run. And because there's no understanding, like if I'm not the person, I would tell you to run. If I'm the person, I'm not running. And I would tell you to run because as a black man, I feel like it's a little bit different. It's unfortunate, but I feel like it's different. And I might get beat up and all of the stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I really feel like culture-wise, right? And maybe I wouldn't. Now that, like, I wouldn't tell you to run. I would just be like, whatever happens, we're going to go through this together. You know what I'm saying? Like, we cannot run like we're guilty. Guilty people run.
But in that particular situation, there's no happy ending for.
So so this is what I would say. If you, and I know in a moment, you're not trained to do a thing.
I'm
but
not trained.
I'm talking about as a civilian being trained to shoot a cop, right? You're not trained how to respond in this type of situation, right? And we know that the type of compassion that needs to be had may or may not be available to you depending on who's in authority in that moment. I don't think that you would have shot and killed him. I think that you would have shot, like, I feel like you're a thought out person in certain situations. So hopefully you didn't shoot him in his head or you didn't shoot him in his chest because the only threat is him pursuing the moment, right? So maybe you shoot him in his leg. Maybe you shoot him in his arm. And then you have a justifiable blah, 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 blah. Killing him is different, right? Because again, you killed the person, you can't undo that, and the situation and the scope changes. So my hope is that I can and again, it's so deep and there's so many different avenues and scenarios. But again, in my perfect scenario, right? In my perfect catastrophic event, if I'm setting it up and this moment happens, my hope is that justice will prevail for me. My expectation is for it to prevail. I will go into this situation feeling firm and confident that I know what the outcome is going to be, period. And it's a scary place to stand on righteousness and faith, right? So scary. But that is the only way that things can really change, is if we stand on righteousness and faith and belief that I am too good to be mistreated in this way. Man. And to know it, and I know, and it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy.
That's all I sound like. Yeah, that's blowing my mind.
But that is privilege. That's called privilege.
But then,
that's called privilege.
I'm sitting here thinking, and so we're talking about, so we know our dynamic. A lot of people know our dynamic. And I'm like, if you're not gonna go, then that forces me
to stay.
Because I'm like, yo, like I can't leave her here. But then at the same time, I know like I can't stay either. So then it makes it, because if that happened in a split second, I'm like, yo, let's roll. Let's go. That's an easy 100% choice for me. Like, there's no thought in my mind that says, okay, we stay. But then if you're like, no, like, I'm gonna stay here, and whatever is gonna happen,
I don't think that we would have not. Like I said, I don't feel like the situation is too oblong, if you will, to say that this would have happened. But my thoughts are, us in that situation would have been completely different. Us in that situation, because ultimately,
we're just saying, if that, boom, that happened. We're not talking about all the pre-stuff, because the pre-stuff, it would have been.
Which wouldn't have let, like, that's what I'm saying. I don't feel like I would have got, like, I have been approached by dickheads, you know what I'm saying? But I was scared already. Before they even pulled up on me, and most people see the lights and they're like, oh shit, man.
Well, see,
man, this some bullshit, man.
So, bowling alley one time. Long story short, at the bowling alley, me, Corey, it's maybe like 5 or 6 of us. It's supposed to be midnight bowling, right? But they got half the lights on. They're over there cleaning. And so I go over to the lady. We prepaid for 2 or 3 games. I go up to the front desk and I'm like, hey, you know, we only came because it was midnight bowling. We wanted, you know, the glow in the dark stuff, the ball, the glow, all that stuff. Y'all got a light on. Can we get those turned off? So she's like, yeah, okay, da. So we go back. We, you know, doing our first game. They don't turn the lights off. They're still cleaning. So I go back over and I'm like, hey, da. Like, can we get the lights off? So then the manager comes out. She's like, look, you know, we're cleaning up. You know, da. I'm like, so how is it midnight bowling if it doesn't even like midnight in here? And so basically, I wound up asking for our money back. I'm like, yo, look, we played 1 game, we paid for that, whatever, but the other game that we prepaid for, can we get our money back? So she's like, oh, well, you know, I need the receipt. I'm like, all right, bet. Corey had paid for half, I paid for half. So I pulled my receipt out. Corey's like, yo, she never gave me the receipt. So she's, you know, talking to me about that. She's like, I did give him a receipt, da. I'm like, well, he said he didn't give him a receipt, like he would have it in his pocket, you know what I'm saying? We only went from the counter over here. Anyway, so then we get into like kind of a back and forth, you know what I'm saying? Because she don't want to do it without a receipt. And I'm like, well, do your cameras work? And she's like, of course my cameras work. I'm like, well, go check the camera. And if it shows that you did give him a receipt, then yo, we'll eat the loss and we'll leave. So anyway, she goes in the back, she comes back out, and she's like, oh, I'm still running the tape or whatever. So then I take my shoes and I just drop them behind the counter. You know what I'm saying? You know, queen. But she later said I threw them, but I didn't. I literally.
You see, that's the antagonizing part of the whole thing, because it's not necessary. Like, again, you can't be righteous and wrong at the same time. Like, your delivery diminished your message. So your message was clear. You were this close to getting exactly what you want without coming out of the character, without her having to say, you perpetuated some black ass disrespectful stereotype, like, because really what you did wasn't necessary. Right. It wasn't at all. I 100% agree. So whatever happened from there would have to be you taking ownership of you escalating this situation that didn't need to be escalated.
Right. And so I did. And so she wound up calling the cops.
Of course. Of course, because she was waiting for, as you can tell, she was waiting for a moment for you to do something that'll justify, oh no, I cannot have that in mind. Right. So she probably got spit on before and didn't call the cops.
So cops come and they don't know what's going on. They walk in and they're like, you know, what's going on? And she's still in the back. So I'm like, hey, I know she called the cops on me. So I explained to them what the situation was, you know, blah, blah, blah. So they're like, okay, cool. You know, so the lady comes out. The cops are standing there. It's maybe 4 officers by this time. The cops are standing there. I'm standing on this side. She's standing on this side. We're just talking. I'm like, hey, look, this is what happened. Blah, blah. You know, we're trying to get her to run a tape to see if she gave her brother a receipt. We just want our money back so we can leave, and that's it. So the cops is kind of like, oh, okay, you know, whatever. So they looking at her like, so man, what you gonna do? So then she starts. Then that's when she said, I threw the shoes.
Of course.
So then I'm like, yo, I didn't throw anything at her. We can look at that on the tape too. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to bring the whole tape in. So then she starts kind of
escalating.
Her voice is escalating. Then my voice escalates.
Of course, and you're the big black man in the room.
And then she tells me to get out. And so then I go to speak, and the cop is like, you heard what the fuck she said. And so then I'm like what? Like, yo, I ain't even got my money back. And so then he's like, yo, you heard what she said, like, get out. So anyway, I'm telling Corey, like, all right, bro, like, let's just go. So we're leaving out of the bowling alley. By this time, there's another 2 officers that have pulled up. And me and the lady, because she's still, like, chirping at me, and I'm still chirping at her. And the cop is like, yo, go ahead and leave. And so we're leaving, but I'm still talking.
Right.
Queen.
Of course.
And so then one of the cops that had just pulled up, turns out, I think he was in charge. Because the cop that had told me to get the fuck out, like, he was right behind me, gun already pulled out, and the other cop was like, yo, stand down. And so he's still like 3 or 4 more steps, like, coming up on me, and I'm like, yo, bruh. And so then the other one was like, yo, I said stand down, officer. And so then he stood down. So I've been in those, so like, it made me think of that because you were saying that you were scared. I wasn't. I was more like.
You were arrogant. Bloom. And see, that is, and it wasn't necessary. And that's what I want. But it wasn't.
It is necessary.
Sometimes, but in that particular situation, it was not. And I listened to you explain
how
it was.
In what we were asking for.
You're right.
Not demanding.
She was wrong up until you decided it was necessary to poke her. And you know the exact moment in which you made the whole situation the white lady in distress and all these black people surrounding her. And now you got to send 18 patrolmen because you know they strong. And it take 4 of them to take 1 of them down. You did everything they wanted you to do. By being arrogant, you can be firm. And you were. And that is the reason why she had to take her time. And the only thing she needed you to do was to give her some ammunition in any way, shape, form, or fashion to make you incorrect. And the moment you gave it to her, she then had the opportunity to make it about her and her safety and her feelings and blah, blah, blah. You didn't need to be arrogant. You were already winning. So and now you winning and you dunking on people and you're like, you're doing all of this and then you break your ankle. Wow. That was great.
So y'all tell us in the comments.
That was great.
If I did too much.
Was the dunk worth it?
What would you?
Was this Cardi B? What was the reason? What was the reason? Do y'all remember that? I love it. What was the reason? Y'all tell us right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, tell me, because tell me, tell us. It's an argument. Argue, fight me.
What would you have done? What would y'all have done?
Yeah, and so it really comes down to, like I said, in a lot of case scenarios, we try to, and this is where I feel like this is where we go wrong, right? Because we feel like I know my rights and right? And all of that is true. And there's a time and place for everything. And you asserting yourself can come through in so many different ways. You don't have to demand respect. You don't have to demand respect because at the end of the day, they are already, most people that are approaching you, they already have the basic like, okay, they're gonna read you already. Like they're gonna assume a certain thing. And and if we're talking about the black and white thing, you know what I mean? You know, most white officers in particular, you know, they have a certain idea of who we think we are. And so everybody comes with these preconceived notions already. So what they're saying to themselves is, I already got to combat this arrogance, because that's how they describe the men, right? They, you know, intimidating and arrogant and blah, blah, blah. Y'all got big dicks and all of this stuff, right? And my thoughts are, the only way to combat that, right, is by not having to do things to prove that.
Right.
Just be your motherfucking self. Right. Because you would have been righteous in all that ways and been able to talk bad about that lady and blah, 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 and do all this stuff. Righteous through and through. But your delivery ended up diminishing your message. Your righteousness got watered down because you decided, I want to be a little bit extra in this moment and a little bit more arrogant, and you're going to do what the hell I say. Because really, it's not your place to make her do what you said. It was the cop's place. And all you needed to do was stand by your righteousness. Okay. You about to give me my money back, and you called the cops for no reason. You could do that after you get your money back. And they walk with you hand in hand outside. But instead, it was the opposite because you decided to add insult to injury.
We're gonna see what the people think.
See what the people think.
Queen or Slim? Are you Queen or Slim? That's how this whole thing got started.
Queen was about it, and I don't take nothing from her. But like I said, I feel like we got to practice wisdom. We got to be wise in these situations. Like, yeah, just be wise. Like, yo, you could be your unadulterated black ass self. You could be you, whatever that means. And not just, you know, falling into the black category, but whatever you are or whatever it is, you can be yourself, but also practice wisdom. Be wise about how you're speaking and how you're coming off. Because again, arrogance, you know, that pride shit, what's up? For what? This moment is not the time. You're no less prideful. Excuse me, you're no less proud by speaking with respect and regard to any fucking person. It's not about, oh, I don't want to be respectful to this cop. It's a human being. It's a person. They deserve just a basic respect. So, I'm sorry, was I speeding, sir? Blah, 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 blah. Whatever, however the fuck you speak. You know, why are you stopping me? You know, or maybe you don't ask the question because he's going to tell you. Usually, that's what they're supposed to do. Hey, you know, I stopped you because you're going blah, 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 blah. You know, can I have your license and registration? Well, damn, I didn't even know I was going that fast. My bad. I'm going to be right here. I don't need to say shit else to you. But most of the time, we on some, you know, and again, I'm not blaming us. Don't get it twisted, okay? Don't misconstrue what I am saying. There are dickheads, plenty of them. Make sure you putting it on this World Wide Web. I'm getting too loose. I'm sorry. There are, you know, I don't be cursing on, you know, where people can see me.
Except for out in public.
But not on the internet. I'll be cursing on the internet. My kids be clicking on my pages and stuff. But yes, there are jerks. There are buttholes. There are ignorant people. There are racists, right? There are all those things out there, but at the end of the day, they're still a human being. They still deserve the basic respect, and they still are, especially, you know, if they're an officer, you know, they're still of authority. You know, they were put in place to blah, blah, blah. The hope is, not the hope, but the expectation is for them to live by the creeds in which they agree to. And that's what I expect when an officer come to me. You stop me for a real reason. Oh, I'm going 7 over the speed limit. Okay, even if I'm going 2 over the motherfucking speed limit, you ain't had to stop me, but you stopped me and I was speeding, and that's what the fuck. Here's my license and registration. Go ahead and give me the ticket so I can go about my damn business, because I earned it. I can't be mad at you because this is what you decided to do today. You got a quota to meet. You got a quota to meet. And I'm just so happen to be in the zone that you in. That's how I'm thinking about it. And I'm not thinking about, oh, this dickhead, you know, racist ass motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? That is the natural air about what we think about these people, no matter really what their color, because anybody in uniform in these days have been, you know, kind of, you know, enemy. But it's not that, you know what I'm saying? It really is about our perception. We cannot expect them to think any different of us if we're not thinking different of them. Right. You know, they're saying the same thing about us on that side. Yeah. Oh, they don't respect us, blah, 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 blah. They be talking shit. And we do. And a lot of times, it be for no reason. We ain't got to talk the shit we talk. But, you know, sometimes we do. But know your audience. You know what I'm saying? Know the space and the time that you're in. You know, does this lend to my cause right now? What is my cause? My cause is get this motherfucking ticket, or maybe it's not to get this ticket. Oh man, come on, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize I was going la la la. Maybe that's your approach, because nigga, I don't want this ticket. Take it with you when you go.
So for 30 minutes, I've been looking for a segue, and you just gave it to me.
Yay.
You said, know your audience. How does KrystalDamuse read the audience, her audience in the room, and understand how to, you see how I just kind of blow
That's so good.
In there, like,
you're not going to take my job, are you?
No, I'm not going to take your job. You're going to be a co-host on here at times, and so, no, I'm not going to take a job at all for y'all.
Yes.
I've been watching Shaq.
You've been picking up some stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because every now and again, Shaq does practice in the mirror. You may not go to practice, but he got that long mirror, and he do the stuff in the mirror.
So how does KrystalDamuse? Because when I first met you, and we've talked about this before.
A little extra thigh. I'm sorry about that, y'all. It's a little extra because the cord is coming through there. I ain't prepared properly for this interview. You know, to each his own.
When I first met you, that was the first thing I noticed about you is how you reacted to the room, and how the room reacted to you. And so, how did that come about? Like, where does that come from? Is that innate with you, or is that something that you learned, or how is that?
So in the beginning of us talking, I know I was telling you guys that I'm something like an empath. So, you know, there's a certain energy that that affects me. So energy affects me. Like I can truly feel people's energy. And so knowing your audience is a few things, right? Some of it is innate, like something that's built already inside of me, but some of it is really scanning where you are, scanning the mood, scanning the type of person and people that are there. Doing some research. Sometimes I do have to do a little research on where I'm going if it's something completely foreign than what I know. So with that, it is about all of those things coming together. A lot of times I'm a fluid person, so I have the opportunity to always pivot if I need to. Like, oh, they ain't like that, so I'm gonna go this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if I know I'm going to, like I did a birthday party, when I got there, now I don't know anything about these people. You know, I don't know anything about these people. I'm just excited to be there, right? But what I found was that they were like, a lot of them were family, and they were very, you know, God conscious, you know, a lot of Christians in the building. And so I knew I couldn't curse a lot. You know what I'm saying? I might be able to say like damn every now and again.
I went to with you?
Yes, you did a compliment.
So then you were clean, and then Mike Epps just cursed up a storm.
Now listen, this is what I read from the audience.
Right behind you and just said,
listen,
I don't care.
when I tell you he like all the curse words, and I, you know, every now and again I was like hell or damn or something like just real subtly, but.
Right, but it wouldn't have been received.
Right, but it wouldn't have been received the same way, you know, so knowing who I am in a space, knowing that space, because they could probably take it for that little segment, but had I been the host to all of the motherfuckers the whole time, right. You know, they'd have been like, well, my word, right. She cursed a lot. Right. So yeah, it's really about reading the energy in the room, and sometimes you have to do some research as well just to make sure that you're in a good space, but a lot of it is feeling. So
speaking of research, I did a little bit of research on you, and I was talking to DJ Supreme. Okay. And he was telling me about your first like gig. Yes. That you ever had, and one of the things that he said that you have kind of grown in tremendously is learning your pacing throughout the show, because he said your very first show, like your voice was gone, like you were just depleted, you know, about, you know, halfway, midway through. And I know with us working together, I've never thought about your pacing, and I guess that's because you had already gotten to a point where you had honed in on that. And so when I see you, and a lot of people see you on whatever stage it is, you know, you seem to be like on 10 the entire night. But now as I'm thinking through like inspired shows, thinking through R&B and paint, like things that you've done in a large setting, it's like, oh, she was kind of pacing, you know what I'm saying?
Elevating a little bit.
Gradually goes up. So with that first experience of hosting and then hearing that type of feedback, how was that transformation moving forward, even into now with learning to pace, even after you've scanned and now you feel the room and know what you need to do?
So it's like night and day, because I'm always depleted at the end of every show, no matter what, and it's due to the fact that I pour. I'm not just that, because a lot of hosts, honestly, like, and I've seen it, like, I'll come in to an event and the host is literally sitting down, texting on their phone or something. They're not engaged at all. They're not mixing, they're not mingling. And I'm like, that's the point of you paying me to be here, to keep the crowd and the energy at a certain level so people are staying until the bitter end. Like, I know my open mic right now, like, people that can't even get in, like, our capacity was low for the first couple of months that we did it, but, man, people will sit and wait hours to come in because they know the energy there. And so for me, when I first started, I was just giving them all of it in the beginning. From the start. Pew, pew, pew. And then I would be like almost sick, because I just my head be spinning, you know, and that's why I don't sit down. Most of the time, most of my shows, you'll see that I won't sit down. People are like, come sit down. I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm finished.
I was just telling her what you called earlier.
I'll fall asleep.
I'm sick.
It's a wrap. And so I had to figure out this balance. So I do kind of elevate, you know, it's a ride the whole day. Like, you know, because sometimes depending on the event, especially if I'm doing like a festival or all day event where I got to be there for like 4, 6, 8 hours, man, imagine if I'm my hypest of self coming in that bit. Ooh, I'm in trouble. You know what I'm saying? By the end of the night, I literally might throw up, like literally. So now I still am depleted, because what I do is not only am I on stage, but I'm off the stage. I'm in the crowd. I might take your empty drink bottle and throw it in the trash. You know, I might go get you another drink. You know, like I'm that kind of host. And I think that's the reason why they call it a host. Like people, I think they mistake hosting for emceeing, right? I am a real host.
And see, when we met, I was looking
for an MC.
Right.
You were looking for someone to narrate your night. Right. And hey, this is what we're about. Thank you so much. This is what we're about to do. Okay, keep it rocking. Right. All right, this is what we're gonna do. We're going to the other side. You know, but that is a MC. I'm not an MC. I am host. So you get that, and you get, hey, don't forget next week we'll be right back at it. La 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 la. Hey, oh, I see you, girlfriend, moving and shaking. I'm coming down there with you to do a little dance. Hey, don't forget to tip your bartenders. Hey, we'll be, you know what I'm saying? Like there is a certain camaraderie and attachment that I have to the whole atmosphere. A host will lead, I might see you at the door and lead you to your daggone seat. And now I'm an usher.
Well, now we know the difference between the MC and the host.
Yes.
That's something that I had
huge
to learn, which we never had this conversation, but I learned it from observing you. Mm-hmm. And I realized, like, oh.
That's why you paid me the big bucks. That's why I'm not $200. That's why I'm not $100. You know what I'm saying? Like, most hosts, like, most MCs, and I want to put the right word on it, you know what I'm saying? Most MCs, you know, they stage only. Put my face on a flyer, stage only, and I'm not doing anything more than every few minutes, tippy top bar, the bar's wide open, make sure you do 2 drink specials, the tequila and wine all tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like, ladies get in free for 412. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they do. That's an MC. That's just narrating the night. Right. You know, me as a host, you're getting the full package. So again, when people approach me, you know, understanding that is heavy to really understand what you're paying for. Yeah. You can go to a regular MC and they're going to charge you $150, $200 to come and do what they do. But I'm a host and a facilitator. I'm not just coming to get on your mic and sit on your stage. Right. I'm a dance with your people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm a literally, you know, there's a, you know, something's spilled on the floor. I might go get the mop and mop it up. Right. You know, there's a whole bunch of, you know, garbage sitting on a table and somebody wants to sit down. I might clear off the table. So that is the difference between being a host, because when you, okay, so think about a host. When you're hosting something at your house, you are, can I get you something?
Right, you're greeting everybody.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much for being, that is the difference. An MC is going to stand at the bar and have you, and take their breaks.
Got you. So the host and facilitator, and everyone knows you as KrystalDamuse.
Not everyone, but yes.
Just about. So where did Damuse come from? Obviously, Krystal is your first name. Krystal with a K.
Krystal with a K.
Where did Damuse come
Damuse. Okay, so that came technically from my mom, right? So she's.
Okay, so I don't know this story.
Yes, my mother used to call me the Pied Piper. You've heard me tell this story.
Okay.
You heard me tell this story. My mom used to call me the Pied Piper, and she still does. Shout out to my mom. She used to call me the Pied Piper, and she'd be like, you know, no matter what you do, just gonna be a crowd of people following you. And so that segued into inspiration, muse. I didn't want to say the. I wanted, you know.
I say the.
I didn't want to say
SP,
the.
Writer.
You know, I didn't want to say
I
the.
didn't say the. SP, the writer.
So I wanted to use, because at first I was thinking the muse. That's, you know, initially what I wanted to use, but it was quicker, it was easier, it was like less letters, and so I went with the muse. But yeah, my mom.
So shout out to mom, man.
Yeah, shout out to mommy.
So Raleigh, you get to Raleigh. Now look, we're circling all the way back around.
It's been a long,
You know how they do it.
long
in
time
documentaries
coming.
Where they zoom you all the way back.
Yeah.
January 1988. Now you done went
The
back.
timeline.
So
It's a timeline for me.
So you left Maryland. I know where we veered off at. It was with the whole Slim.
Yes, the drug thing, and,
Queen of Slim.
and you know, me being chased by imaginary forces.
So you get to Raleigh, then what happens? What year is this that you come to Raleigh?
I came to Raleigh pregnant in 2013.
Oh wow! So you were in Raleigh for 5 years before I met you.
I came to Raleigh. I was in a very heavy place. My fiance, who I was pregnant by at the time, I didn't know I was pregnant though, but at the time we had just separated, decided this is not what we're gonna do. I stuck my hand in a candy jar and I got pregnant. A Gavin, trick or treat, a Gavin on Halloween. It's a cookie, it's a boy, it's a baby. And so did that, came to Raleigh broken, did some independent things, Aflac, got into corporate America, stayed with my sister for a minute. God worked it out, got an apartment on my own, was there, no job for a whole entire year. It's crazy. God favored me. And then fast forward 3 years later, roughly about 3 years later, I saw a associate, friend of mine from Jacksonville that was really close to a childhood friend of mine, and she invited me out to this poetic open mic. And that's when I got familiar with City Soul Cafe.
Gotcha.
And stayed there ever since. Every Wednesday had been dedicated after Bible study at that time. And that's when I was heavily into my spirituality and religion. Every Wednesday after church, I would go to 44 Soul. That's where it was at the time. And it was wonderful. And I knew there was something about this community that just always kept me drawn. So every Wednesday I would go. I was like the mascot, the City Soul Cafe mascot. You know, I was always the person, the commentary, just being myself.
Right.
And then, I got into, I wanted to do more hosting, but I wanted to hone in on my emceeing at the time. Not necessarily hosting, but I didn't know the difference at that time between emceeing and hosting. So I called it hosting, but really I just wanted to MC a little bit and just perfect that. Believe it or not, being a female wanting to MC and host and curate events and stuff like that is tough. Any radio, female radio, they'll tell you, like being in this entertainment genre box and female trying to be your own boss or trying to curate, create, and be respected, man, it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard because not even the sexual aspect of it, especially if you're attractive, and you could be ugly and niggas, they don't care, you know what I'm saying? But not just that, but the level of insecurity and fear you'll run into being female and great in this industry is crazy. But despite the endless no's and the endless no, go sit down. You're trying to take over, or you know what I'm saying? Like just after that, despite those things, I was able to find a home and to start building my real brand and associating myself with the right type of people or not associating myself at all. So yeah, so that's a nutshell of through all of the 8 years I've been in Raleigh now.
And so when we met, and I don't think we've really talked about this in public per se.
Mm-hmm.
What was your view of when I said, hey, come sit here, and then when we actually sat down and did lunch and I kind of gave you my plan, if you will, for this show?
Yes. Production company.
Right. Well,
S. P.
At the time, it wasn't even a production company.
Right.
Like, hey, I just want to have the show, and I was like, I knew you would be perfect for it, even though what I was looking for wasn't necessarily what you gave, because you went overboard, obviously. But from your point of view, like, what was that like in that moment, knowing that you were kind of looking for something, and then kind of not knowing who I was and what I was here for, and my level of engagement with what I was actually trying to do? Like, what was that like for you, moving through those early stages of S.P. production?
It wasn't a hard decision to make at all. There was a certain assurance that I felt almost immediately. Most men that approach me to do business are really just segueing into, fucking. That's just really what it is. And my thought was that you're not here for that. Right. Even though,
But that's true.
But,
that's true.
Despite that part,
right.
It really felt like it was genuine. It was really about, I'm really trying to do something fresh and new and unorthodox and unheard of, and I just need someone to believe. Right. And I believed that. I felt the sincerity in your commitment to what you wanted to do, but also your readiness and what it would take to get it done. And so it was very, very instant for me. It didn't take me the pat on the couch, come sit down. I was almost sold then. Like, gotcha. Not like, it wasn't like, I promise you, like the approach, even as corny and simple as it was very pure and honest, and it felt safe. It was like, I want something, but I don't want that.
Right.
I know what you're thinking, but no, but no, but.
Stupid.
So yeah, that part.
And so then from there, because it's been documented, like, you had never heard my poetry, you had
never
seen my poetry.
Never heard it, never read it, nothing. I had no knowledge at all if he was a good writer. I found out how good of a writer he was during the first show. And for those that don't know, we had 2 shows on the same day. We had a early afternoon show, and then we had an evening show. And that was the first time I heard his writing, his poetry.
So is that the moment, because I don't know the answer to this question, so is that the moment that then you saw the big picture? Because I didn't even know at that point that this was going to turn into, this thing, you know what I'm saying? Not just inspired, but S.P. where there's body of work, there's in other words, there's, other stuff we can't even talk about right now. Like, all these different platforms under this one umbrella, is that where you knew, like, okay, this may be actually more special than what I thought, or is there another instance where that happened for you? Or was it just something that just kind of, over time, had a place that you could reside and that you had, you know, an allotment of control and that you could build off of?
So, all right, so it's kind of difficult to answer, but I'm gonna try my best. So I knew, okay, so this is what I felt. I felt like there was a certain level of instant trust, right? So there was this instant trust factor, like, I know you want what's best, so I am going to give you control because I think this is what you're good at. That's how I felt you felt about me. Right. So I didn't have to fight you because you were doing some fucked up shit, right? So let's talk about it.
Here we go.
He was doing some egregious. I mean, it was so bad. The amount of money this man spent giving the business away. I was like devastated at how much money he had already spent before I got into it. But the wonderful thing was that he allowed me to like almost spank him.
Not for real.
You know, it was a lot. It was like he allowed me to almost chastise him about these things that he did wrong. And you know, we know better. Like for a woman to tell a man that he's wrong in a certain kind of way, it's so difficult to accept. Men in general have a hard time accepting that a woman can give them direction anyway. And so it was refreshing to have me be like, this shit is, what the fuck, the hell? Literally, and this is me, like literally, I'm like this. I'm like, I know, like I'm literally like this. What the fuck, it's the cursing and shit. I mean, all types of stuff. And I would be like, why did you do that?
That's what I thought we needed.
You know, but in his mind, it's like, you pay for quality, which is absolutely true. But there was just things, we was just ignorant, you know what I'm saying? There was just things that and vice versa. There were things that I still am learning and still am perfecting and helping and grooming and growing the business with him. So, you know, it was the fact that there was this instant trust, and any time, you know, we fight
all the time.
Hard. And because we have strong beliefs, you know, it's like raising a child, right? And really, you know, I'm like the stepmom, right? He done had a baby with somebody else. And I'm the stepmom. And he like, this my baby. This my. No, it's not. I signed the adoption papers. This mine too. Right? So it's almost like that. He's like, it's mine, it's mine. And we both feel the same way and want success and the best for this entity. And so our fights, even though they might be hard and harsh if you're around to see them, it's all with the same intention in mind, which is whatever is best for the baby. Right. Protect the baby at all costs. And so sometimes we actually have to say, all right, I don't agree with you, but I'm gonna just do it. There's times that I have to say that to him. There's times that he has to say that to me, because I'm like, I'm not bending on this, and we just gonna have to fight every single time because we're not doing that. Or he might say the same thing to me, like, you gonna be mad because we're not doing that. And we just have to compromise on those moments. Like, there's gonna be moments where it's like, I don't believe you, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I'm not gonna do anything different.
So basically the trust factor was the thing that allowed you to really kind of understand that you had a place.
Yes, it was absolutely, because up until recently, even then, I didn't even trust myself. I really didn't. I just knew what I knew. That's it. It wasn't that there was something magical inside of me that was like, ooh, I know, and blah, 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 blah. It was like, no, I know that's not gonna work. I know that's not good. I know that's not right. This is better. Blah, 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 blah. And it was just that way. It wasn't about me being the person to make it happen, because at that time I felt like I was replaceable. Like anybody could come in here and do what I'm doing as long as they believe in quality. But I know now that that's not true. You know, I know now that, you know, I am a irreplaceable force, and any entity in which has my devotion to it is going to flourish. But not knowing that at the time, it was just my knowledge of things that I stood on.
And that's why you're Shaq. Because
listen.
You can't replace Shaq. Now,
you can't replace.
Hold on, as great as Kobe is, you can replace a Kobe.
With a LeBron.
Well, they did it with D-Wade, and Shaq won a championship the next year.
Touche.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that little point in there.
Touche.
This has been good, because I got some tidbits.
Yes.
that I didn't know.
The more you know.
And I think
Rainbow. Q Rainbow.
Even though we kind of went in a whole direction.
Tangent.
But that's cool, because it's a conversation. It's a back and forth, and we have these all the time, and now people just get to kind of peek in on what we're talking about.
Very that.
So in the beginning, I asked you, who do you think you are? Now I'm gonna ask you, who will you be?
So I am now realizing that I'm ever evolving and changing and discovering parts of myself and perfecting parts of myself and killing parts of myself. And so I am who I'm going to be. And I'm really excited to see who that is, because right now I can tell you who I am. I am whole. And I am a complete person. And I'm not perfect yet. And I don't know if I'll ever be. And I'm okay with that too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good way to end it. The only time I'm ever gonna do this and allow somebody to outro this obviously would be you. So I'm gonna let Miss Krystal do her thing and send this out.
Yay! Because you know what to do in the meantime, right? Stay locked, stay loaded, and stay ready so you have to get ready. It's your girl, KrystalDamuse. Ow! And we out.